The next speaker is Professor Hoshang Merchant, whose new release is Sufiana. Sufiana, a title that resonates with Yarana, is a serious venture in language and style. This recent collection of poetry is a retrospective meditation on the self-imposed exile that the poet, similar to the journeying dervishes of the medieval times, experiences in traveling away from home. Where is home, he asks. In this poetry, home seems to be a place of no place that the mystics visited in their deep reflections on the nature of reality, and the poet visits in reimagining where he was born to become a poet. He says, beauty too is light and birth. Some dark room opens a crack, a beam of light dances out, it whirls in space a while, then it's put out. Our going is a blowing out as of a lamp. This dance of light is the living that is the Sufiana of this poetry. Here, as in the poetry of Rumi, when he goes through the alleys of the city carrying a lamp in daylight, searching for a friend, the mother, lamp in hand, goes around the house as if searching for something in the dark. This may be home, the home that gives shape to the voice that comes through this poetry, the clear, courageous voice that, searching for the beloved, explains, I look for my lover. He's not there, not there. He's here with me, laughing from the grass. Home and the homeland are contested, made and remade. But Hoshang returns home in the opening poem of the collection titled Return to My Native Land. The Indian Parsi comes home to a land that worships gods who transcend gender. Shiva, Vishnu, and Mohini come together to express the fluidity of sexual identities. He comes home to the land of mystical visions, where androgynous angels reveal divine expressions of beauty. Sufiana is an expression of such beauty, heard in a voice that calls out to Wahhabis, stay with me. Our bodies are gardens we grow for others' use. And I do not wish to tend the grave the rest of my days. But we are born in two times, our own and eternity. And it is there the cloth is woven for a cradle and a shroud. Sufiana, a mystical dance with the skies, is a homage to the time that has a claim on us, namely, eternity and the time that seems to be ours. Let us welcome Hoshang Merchant to introduce this groundbreaking collection of poetry.
I read a poem for my sister, The River of the Golden Swimmer. Last month, on the last day at midnight, my sister died. When a childhood playmate goes, the whole world goes, but the leaves are full of children. A poem is not a puzzle to be solved. A poem is not a puzzle to be solved, but an experience to be lived through. My sister, my spouse. My sister, my spouse, the soul trembles on a hair-thin bridge for the fearful, but for the righteous it becomes a broad highway. In Tabriz, the golden swimmer swam nightly to his beloved. She built him a bridge to lessen his troubles, and she too would cross over, often. My sister gave me the key to how to love without a body. My sister gave me a key to how to love without a body. I simply unlocked a mystery. Now I go shopping with other sisters. Brothers phone for recipes. So while sister soul goes shopping, brothers are miraculously fed on earth. Do you want another poem, or you have had enough of me? That is not an answer. Do you want another poem, or don't you? Okay. This, since we are talking about Marx and Gandhi, this is to my Dalit student who became a teacher but never shook off that stigma that he had been subjected to Ghanshyam, teacher. And I see your sobbing face. What was it you were sobbing out? The insults your race felt as they dragged cow carcasses to cobblers to be made into shoes for well-shod feet. Carcass dragger, corpse handler. Were they men or corpses who mouthed this? Then out of the valley came a trough. Out of the trough, a plateau. Beyond the plateau, a peak. And behind it, the light. Who lifts a mountain on a fingertip, and among the stars an A? Have you counted the constellations on a starry night? Have you seen Shiva's locks streaming on the Milky Way? If there is a God, what about chance? Everything is chance, but the friend bestows upon a friend a complete world. I thought to be master to make invisible music, but I wielded a club and broke the easel and the jade. And I see your face, your radiant face, each thing remains. Book, chair, window, lamp, each thing handmade, for nothing is free. Why throw all this away? Even your ancestors had dignity. Valmiki caught the Kichaka bird. Its mate became lament. Out of that lament came the epic, Viraha and Karuna, exile and pity. Your ancestor may not have had honor, but he had dignity and his things. Net, arrow, birdline, basket, rope tether, awl, hammer, nail, sandal. We are but beasts walking on twos, our palms turned up to the stars when temple and pyramids kept time of time. Now such temples have to be built in our hearts. Let such a person go out to his daily work, where greatness is lying in ambush, and someday, at some turn, will leap upon him and force him to fight for his life. You have to put Charlene's picture now. It's called The Lion and the Antler, and it's by my friend Charlene Rakesh. I'm glad to introduce a new poet to India today, Charlene Rakesh. He is the son of the Hindi writer Mohan Rakesh, whose birthday was today. Charlene is a young writer with the fancy of a child. The poet is a child who never grows up, says Rimbaud, who is Charlene's favorite poet. The poems I liked best are those on the shapes of the English alphabet, and also those making ordinary household objects like a saucepan talk. There are also tender love poems because Charlene is a gay poet. His is an assertion of gay identity in the face of the reading up again of the infamous Clause 377 of the IPC by the Supreme Court, an imposition on India's creative, courageous, and hapless gay community. The poems are a big hit on the internet, 46,000 hits. Charlene Rakesh.
Because the lecture is on, I believe, Marx and Gandhi. So I'll read. Gandhi. This is a three-part poem, but I'll read just two. And then a last prayer. Gandhi. You are imprinted on memory like almost nobody else. The line drawing that you are, your round, bald head mirrored in a way by the rondures of your spectacles. Later there was that slightly bent back and the staff-leaning torso. Naked, knee down, I think of your long strides, scissoring a continent from the black walls of jails to the white salt of Dandi. And the third in this little sequence. The last year must have been terrible for you. The joy and glory turning to ash in your mouth, and that tide of blood which darkened many rivers, though it left your sea at Porbandar rather clean. You walked into flame and arson, and crowds that wielded sharpened steel, the rim of their eyeballs aflame with hatred. Sitting comfortably on the sidelines, we thought your cry for peace was turning into a lightning conductor for war. That your plea for ahimsa was lighting up further fires. We were wrong. As always, those who opposed you could never be right. You walked into the knives of Noakhali and the blood-dripping lanes of Calcutta. You knew you were circling the jagged rim of a volcano. You, the one voluntary suicide among a horde of homicides. You kept inviting death, Mahatma, till that Godse bullet found you. And the last is a prayer on January 30. Rukmini, Bhaya and I read it about 10 years ago on the 31st of January, anyway. I'll read a short passage from this poem. Let not the harsh winds of our times blow love away. The poem is entitled Prayer on January 30, 2002. Let not the harsh winds of our times blow love away. Let not the harsh winds of our times blow our perceptions into a wall behind which people are sharpening knives. Let not the harsh dreams of our times devour us along with our appetites. Lead us from this landscape of rubble to water, but let the sound be real, even traffic sounds like surf at night. And let water remain water and not turn to blood. Lead us from chemical colors to vegetable dyes, from plastic to cotton, from fractions to wholeness. Ephemeral as we are, let the infinite touch us somewhere. Detach us from the tree of time, and those with no faith, cast them on the waters of belief. Let the repressed be brought into light, the hidden into knowledge. Let there be harmony between those who speak of shadows and those who speak of the sun. Let the unlit be lit. Steer the light our way. Let the forest leaf, let the lyric leaf. Thank you.
My poem is called The Ashes of Gandhi. The first 3 lines are an invocation, the last 3 lines are a coda, and in between is the poem. Ashes of Gandhi. Invocation. Young man, in that February when to err meant one was still alive, in that Indian February which at least gave life fire. It isn't March like this impure air which darkens the foreigner's dark garden still more, then dazzles it with blinding sunlight. This foam-streaked sky above the other roof terraces, which in vast semicircles veil the Jamuna's curve and Aravali's cobalt mountains. Inside the ancient walls, The autumnal October diffuses a deathly peace, disquieting like our destinies, and holds the world's dismay. The finish of the decade that saw the profound Nair struggle to make life over collapse in ruins, silence, humid, fruitless. You, Father of the nation, take me by your thin hand, trembling like a brother ascetic, sex-denying, dead, dead like us in this garden, belonging to the nation and belonging to no one, the nation too belonging to no one, despoiled by the rich. And I reach out in the fetid Indian summer from Malabar Hill to the dirty tenements along the parade rail tracks, sad in their squalor, yet alive with their Alexandrian sex, and hear the tintinnabulation of the workshop of Strastevere and Konya. The eye is attuned to filth, the ear to music, as on your grave waves a strand of sad homespun, left there by some Italian virgin who became an Indian widow. You take all with you the Hindu, as the dust stirs amid the first big drops on dry, dry earth, my Arabian Nights dream. Icarus could fall into the Tahirian sea tonight, Indra descend again to walk among the common folk who doze like the Daruwala with swollen sex in his auto rickshaw. Morning is far away with its salt taste of defeated sex, and with the sad frenzy of orgasmic animals who only know daily work. The workmen sleep on the pavements, and the schismatics sharpen their knives to cut again an already cut nation as you sleep. You must know how I loathe the bourgeois mob I sing to, who stare and stare at me as I sing one of them, their history, as one who knows them only too well. And you, your ashes I approach between hope and distrust, where the vast river melts into the sky, and cry out, Shelley, and with patrician grace you sing, lead kindly light. One by one the lights go on, the green dome lit first, lit my Parsi dread. We are in Harun al-Rashid's Baghdad, and then with Damascene grace which is not obscene, the young louts plan night adventures, conscienceless as only the young can be. The neem tree weeps, everything is enveloped in the stench of your blood and poverty. And I, who can only live in history, will I ever again be able to act with pure passion when I know our history is over?
Okay, I'll read a poem on Gandhi, but just before I do so, I would like to say that, if you look at the title of Akhil's lecture, which is the big lecture, which is the event we're really waiting for, you'll see that there is Marx in उसको नहीं जो था वही है वही चाहिए. So you'll see there's Marx in brackets, inside his lecture. And I thought that, it would be appropriate to also bring Marx into this conversation. This poem is a very famous poem, and some of you will recognize it. It is called Karl Marx Ki Awaaz by Muhammad Iqbal. And I want to read you the English version because in Urdu it looks somewhat like that, I understand. But this is the Karl Marx. And Karl Marx is addressing the economists and the kind of lack of understanding of the political scene and the messing up of politics that is going on. So this is what Iqbal is saying. So this is the voice of Karl Marx. Your chess match of research and erudition, your comedy of debate and disputation, the world has no more patience left to watch this comedy of threadbare speculation. What, after all, sapient economists, what is to be found in your biblification? a comedy of nicely flowing curves, a sort of barmecidal invitation in the idolatrous shrines of the Occident, its pulpits and its seats of education. Sheer greed and its murderous crimes are masked under your knavish comedy of cerebration. So this is Iqbal speaking, and you notice that he has many of the themes which Gandhi has, and Gandhi's anger about greed and about incomplete solutions is very apparent here. Now I want to read you my poem, and it is a part of my book Ayodhya Cantos, which was published in 1999, so a long time ago. And when it was published, people asked me why I had begun it in Baroda when it was about the pulling down of a mosque in Ayodhya. But in 2002, what I had written in 1999 did have a kind of resonance. And my friend, who is from Baroda, and this is especially relevant because Akhil today has come to us from Baroda, and my poem is called Journey from Baroda. Now in Baroda, she said, my friend who lives in Baroda told me, look, I was in the desert and it was very, very hot. It was 45 degrees, but when I looked out of the car window, what I saw was snow, because it looked like this. Because this were the salt dunes, the sand dunes. And this contradiction between what our bodies tell us and what our mind knows is something we have to resolve in poetry and the world. So now my poem. So I'll read some of the background. It's in many sections, and here is the background. 1. Sand. If you wish to cross the deserts of Gujarat, let your mind freeze. The sand is a tiger, yellow and shadowy. It leaps at your car on the metal road, and in the desperate heat of that meeting, you let your mind freeze. Sea. Blue arm of the Arab Sea flung across the desert rests at Jamnagar, caresses at Gir, dim forest fortresses, and wanton in that darkness, the sea tells its secrets. So let your mind freeze from Baroda to Porbandar, where sea embraces desert. Let your mind freeze. And then you will see snow, great crystal piles of it, glittering in drifts, dunes, cold as distant Karakoram, of the many forms of water, steam, ice, and fallow rain. The snow in Kathiawar is a gift from the sea. Residue of the purest salt, it lets your mind freeze. Then I have a section on a Sufi and Mirabai, which I'm going to spare you, but I will just read the last 2 lines of what the Sufi says, which is a Doha. The brittle intellect is like a glass. We see through it, but cannot pass. And then we come to Gandhi. There is a man at Porbandar who can answer any question. He stands on the seafront wearing spectacles and a knowing look, mounted on a pedestal so that he can see farther and better than anyone. The truth be told, he is only half a man, a bust. Also, he is made of stone, but these are points of detail. The truth is that just half of him is equal to most questions. Why do sphinxes flourish in deserts? Because questions grow, abundant cacti or rarest peonies in the desert air. Gandhi is the greatest of sphinxes. He understands the value of salt, that it stands for forces greater than hunger, for taste, for grace. On the scratched surface of the desert, in the rough business of living, salt's snowy masquerade as snow signifies that beauty springs defiant from our most destitute pastures. The Mahatma knows green life grows out of the desert, disguised as lifeless sand, and he guesses why this sand still grins unquiet in your hair. but he says nothing. You have traveled from Vadodara to consult him, come through the desert gathering questions, Mira's rhetorical barbs, the Sufi's skeptic thrusts. No man is alone after a desert journey. In the midst of chai, pakora, neighborly gossip, the Sufi hangs out with you. Mira stands at your elbow. They join in your conversation with the half-man, add their challenges to yours, voices of the desert. They speak when the world is silent, and hearing in his head those voices, anticipating their question, the Mahatma lets his mind freeze. Over the many forms of water, snow, ice, and fallow rain, he lets his mind freeze. Whose bhakti is greater, the Sufi transcending his mind, or Mira abandoning her body? Which the fake? Mira, who is a tiger, or her scholarly hashish eater, a Sufi who deciphers heavenly bodies? Are you really wiser than them, great Sphinx, or only crazier? Which half of you is most important, this bust which gazes out to sea, or the phantom limbs we cannot observe? When will you march towards Dundee again, defying the thugs? What is illusory? The snow you imagine you have seen, or the salt you think you have walked on but never tasted? The Sphinx keeps his counsel. You would have to assume from his frozen attitude that the half-man had no use for his voice, none. His invisible hand keeps an invisible spinning wheel busy. He is actually weaving his answer, concentrating on the fine mesh, delicate as snow, or the pattern of sand on your palm when you lean the weight of your body against the desert. He makes you an answer with his hands. It is all a labor of love, he says. Wordless at your journey's end, he speaks of bhakti. The thread of truth binds you to me. It ties the desert to the open sea. The thread of truth binds you to me. It ties the desert to the open sea. Thank you.